What's good, guys? Before I start today's video, I just want to apologize about last week. Last week was very chaotic for me, and that's why you only saw like 2 uploads, and it's been quite some time since I did a video. It may not seem that long, but in YouTube life, it is very long when someone goes about a week without making a video. So I do really apologize for that. I just had a lot going on. That also explains why the last 2 videos you saw from my channel weren't in this area. They were from another area because I really didn't have a good way to record. I was in a different area and things like that, so I do apologize for that. And don't worry, guys, videos should be back to normal, and I should be making a video about once a day because that's usually my schedule. You guys know how it works. I usually like recording about every single day. I try to keep up on the YouTube game. I'm very serious about this, yada yada yada. I don't have to tell you guys that. But anyway, in today's video, I actually want to go over the recent trailer for the new Nintendo Labo VR because Nintendo did officially announce Nintendo Labo VR, and we actually finally got our first trailer for it, so now we know actually what it was about. It's actually funny because I actually wanted to do a video where I actually sit in front of the camera and actually react to the trailer, but the thing is, I did try doing that, and that's what my plans were, but the thing was, the video got corrupted. I tried doing multiple takes. It just, overall, this wasn't a great experience for me. For some reason, it just nothing lined up to be that way. I may do some more reaction videos in the future. Actually, on my channel, personally, I don't think I have done any reaction videos in my life, so that would be kind of interesting if I did a reaction video. But anyway, let's talk about what this video is actually about. Let's talk about Nintendo Switch Labo VR, and here's my thoughts and opinions on that. Of course, I've already seen the full trailer, and here's what I think about it. Overall, I think it's a very cool concept. I think it's pretty much just more of what you're expecting, at least with Labo. If you're coming into Labo thinking you're going to be getting a lot of these amazing, fantastic experiences, you're going to be disappointed. Granted, I do have to admit, Labo is not for people like me and not for teenagers. It's specifically geared towards kids. You can see on the trailer, there's a kid using it. You can see on the boxes when you buy Labo, there's kids plastered all over the boxes. So this is absolutely tailored towards kids. Something I wanted to know about it from watching the trailer, I wanted to see how easy these contraptions were to build. It looks like the VR actual goggles look like they're not too hard to build. That was really my one biggest complaint with some of the other kits, especially the one that first came out last year when they first revealed Labo. I was like, how hard is this going to be to build? And a lot of people out there did not like the experience of building, not because it was too hard, it was just very time consuming. I know some people said it could take literally hours and hours to build some of those contraptions, and they just didn't like it. And on top of that, some of them were slightly complicated to build, and that's really my one gripe with this, because for me personally, I just want to sit there and pretty much get it over with, and I want to get to the main gameplay. That's just me. I know where Nintendo's coming from. They want to make this an actual learning experience and something different besides just your core gameplay. Of course, this is for kids, and they want to make sure kids are not just sitting in front of a screen all day playing a video game. They want to give them some learning experience, kind of like school and things like that. So yes, I do get where Nintendo is coming from, but for me personally, I'm not that great when it comes to creating things, and I'm also not the smartest person out there, so it wouldn't be too good for me if these things are just too complicated or too hard. Yes, I do know with a lot of these kits as well, they do try to give you really good pictures and really good videos and good instructions on the Switch so you can actually build these things. So yes, I do get it. But even so, sometimes I just have a hard time trying to build some of these contraptions that Nintendo is trying to put out there. Now, when it comes to some of these kits that I actually saw, I thought most of them look pretty cool. The one that I really have some concerns with is the elephant. If you look at the elephant, it looks like this one may not hold up too well, and it may actually be clunky to use, because you can see there's 2 parts you have to hold the elephant, and on top of that, both Joy-Cons are on separate wooden, separate cardboard pieces, and it looks like it could easily snap easily. That's really the only one I'm concerned about when it comes to all the different types of VR experiences here. That one I'm kind of iffy on. It doesn't look that comfortable. It also looks like it could snap. Like I said, overall that one's iffy. But when it comes to the core gameplay of every single Labo VR, it's kind of a hit or miss for me. Like for instance, the first one that they showed was the VR Blaster, and I thought the VR Blaster was absolutely kind of cool. I think that would be more like a video game than some of the other ones they actually show. So some of them are experiences, and then some of them feel more like an actual video game, like the Blaster. The Blaster is cool because you're going around shooting aliens in a virtual reality world, and then on top of that, you also can actually shoot like you're actually shooting a gun. So you actually got a gun in your hand while you're actually going around actually blasting aliens. Now, the only disappointing thing overall with the whole VR experience, or with any of these things in Labo VR, is the fact that these are small experiences. Of course, again, these are more tailored towards kids. So if you're a kid, of course, you may be interested in this kind of stuff. And on top of that, kids kind of get jittery really fast, and their tolerance to sit down long could vary between kid to kid, and maybe that's why Nintendo wanted to do these small experiences with these games. But for me, it looks like from all this stuff that I saw, it's kind of hard to justify the price. I think we're talking $40 for the Blaster and the VR goggles, and then if you want the complete set that has the Blaster, the VR goggles, the elephant, the bird, and then the camera is going to cost you $80, and for me personally, that's just too much. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I don't think that there's enough value in terms of the amount of money spent. So money times value doesn't equal up, in my opinion, and it's kind of disappointing. But there's still some really cool stuff that they've shown here. I'm kind of like jumping all over the place as well, but let's talk about the Blaster. Looked pretty cool. You're shooting aliens, yada yada yada. Looks very cool. One thing I was really curious to see, to know about, is how well is this actually going to hold up when you're actually playing this on the Switch, because taking consideration the Switch is 720p, but here's the thing, when you have VR close to your face, both eyes are going to be split up, so the image is going to be split up, so that always means that you're going to get less quality than what the actual thing can do. So for instance, the Switch is 720p, you split it between two eyes, then you pretty much have standard definition, and that could be a problem because the whole thing with VR is you want to get immersed in these experiences, and how can you really get immersed in these experiences if it's going to be grainy? It's definitely going to be grainy when you're actually playing Switch VR. I guess after you play it for a while, you probably get used to the graininess, and it's really not that big a deal that there's going to be grain, since you're going to be looking at these images in standard definition. And you also have to take into consideration, we're not talking about big experiences like a PlayStation VR headset, an Oculus Rift, HTC Vive. We're actually talking about these small experiences, and since you probably won't be in any of these contraptions all that long, it's really not that big a deal. So going back to the contraptions again, the Blaster I thought was an okay one. That was one of my favorite ones, actually. I think that game would be fun to blast aliens. Of course, you're not going to be blasting aliens too long, maybe 1, 2, 3 stages at most, and then you're going to move on. And then the next one that I saw was, I think there was a what was after that? I know that there was the VR headset itself, and I think in the VR headset you can actually go underwater and look at an underwater world. I thought that was pretty cool, except for looking at the footage. I thought the footage of the VR of the underwater world in VR Labo didn't look all that great. The fish looked questionable in my opinion, but still an experience you may want to try out. The one that I really didn't like out of all the sets was, I think, the one where you have the frog and the frog's jumping, and then you have a pedal, and then you also have a soccer ball. I thought that was my least favorite. The reason it was my least favorite is because if you look at that, it looks kind of like a mini game. The experience doesn't look all that great. That's just me, of course, taking consideration. Again, I have not tried this thing out, so it could go any way if you look at it. So it's really hard to tell if that one's going to be bad, but just by looking at it, it looks like a really dumbed down mini game, and it doesn't look all that great. The one that I actually liked a lot besides the Blaster, I actually liked the one where you're actually flying a bird around. I thought that was very cool. The one thing I actually thought was super funny with the bird was the fact that you're looking at the bird from its back. So basically the bird's right up there, and then you're looking at it from its like backside. You're looking at it from like its butt. I thought it was actually funny, the design of that. When you're actually looking at it, you look kind of funny using that thing, but overall it's a very cool concept because you pretty much look into a viewfinder, you're flying a bird around and you're pretty much going through the sky, but then you can actually control the bird, so you actually feel like you're the bird when you're actually flying around, and that's cool. And those are some really good immersive experiences in VR, because flying games, in my opinion, I think are some games that are really going to take advantage of VR, that actually make you feel like you're in the world. Granted, this one is a very dumbed down experience. You're not going to be doing much when you fly the bird around. You're just going to be, I think, flying through rings, picking up apples, and the world seems pretty lifeless if you look at the trailer, but still a very cool concept there when we're talking about Labo VR. The one that I didn't like, besides the frog game, I actually also did not like the fact they had this other game there with the camera, and the camera one did not look great at all. The first thing that comes to mind, of course, with the camera, which a lot of people have already said, and I do have to agree, it would be super cool if Nintendo did this. They should definitely make a Pokemon Snap 2. I know a lot of people wanted a Pokemon Snap 2 when the Wii U was a thing, because the Wii U would have made perfect sense. You have the gamepad, and what does the gamepad have? The gamepad has gyro controls, and with gyro controls you can move the Wii U gamepad around as like a camera. You take the picture and you can look at like the camera lens through the Wii U's gamepad. Overall, that would have made super sense, but now they're back at it again with a camera or some type of thing that would work really well with Pokemon Snap 2. So Nintendo, if you're listening, definitely get the Pokemon Snap 2. I don't know if I really want a Pokemon Snap 2 or I don't want a Pokemon Snap 2. It's really hard to tell if I do want that type of thing, but I think it would be cool if Nintendo did release it. I'm not going to be totally against it because I haven't played that game in years. I would have to revisit that game, but overall it would still be a win-win scenario for Nintendo if they released a Pokemon Snap 2. The one game that was kind of cool also was the elephant. The elephant, the main purpose of the elephant was actually probably what nobody was actually expecting the elephant to do. It's pretty much a drawing game or a painting game, and I thought that was pretty cool. You can also play a little mini game in there as well when it comes to the elephant. The elephant has like this little ball game where you drop a ball and you try to get it through these rings, through like these different platforms. Overall, that one was actually very cool. So really, there's only two that I really dislike in the whole entire VR set. I don't like the frog game, and then I don't like the camera, because in the camera all you really do is go through the underwater and then you take a lot of pictures, and from what I've seen there, you're only taking the same one or two fish. You're looking at I think some other images, but overall that one does seem like it doesn't have a lot of gameplay. That one's more of an experience than an actual gameplay, so I'm very mixed on some of these, but really only two I dislike, but overall it's pretty cool. One thing I did notice that they did talk about at the end of it, they said that there's actually more stuff to do. They didn't show everything. They showed some pretty fast snippets of some stuff, but they said like there's 60 something extra mini games you can actually fool around and mess with, which is very cool. So you're getting some more stuff. We don't even know how many more experiences you're going to get with the main core stuff. Like for instance, the blaster could have more games, the bird could have more games, the elephant could have more games when you actually play, so who knows how much that trailer actually showed. One thing I absolutely thought was brilliant from Nintendo, I thought it was really cool how you can make your own VR experiences. They showed that off a little bit. Now, I don't know how many tools are going to be given to you at your disposal, because they really just went through it really quickly, but it looks like from what they were showing, you can make your own moving VR human or creature, and then also you can make things like platformers apparently and racing games and things like that, so that would be very cool. What would be super cool is if that game was super in-depth, like they gave you enough creative tools to make a full-blown game or something enough to where you can play for a while. It would be really cool if they had like an online feature where people could share their own experiences, because I feel like that is something that would really benefit from, considering this is VR and considering a lot of people are really creative. That would absolutely make sense if Nintendo did an online thing where you can share your creations. But then again, if this thing is just super dumbed down and there's not that much stuff you can actually do to create your own VR experience, then who really cares about sharing your own VR games online if there's not enough creative tools in the first place, and these are small experiences? Who really cares? Just thought I would throw that all. So here's my final thoughts before I head out of camera about the whole VR Labo. Overall, I thought it was pretty great. I think people who are picking this up probably won't be disappointed. There's some hit or miss stuff in here. Personally, when it comes to me, you may be asking, am I going to be picking this up or am I not going to be picking this up? Honestly, for me personally, this is still a pass. Here's the reason why. The reason is, yes, they do. The main reason is I think the value times the amount of money you're spending to this is just not add up. And for me, I know I'm going to play these games about 1 or 2 times and then never touch these games ever again. Then I'll have the cardboard laying around maybe in my closet or in my bedroom or somewhere, and I won't ever use these again. And on top of that, I think they're kind of expensive. $40 is not too bad for the entry level for the blaster and the VR goggles, but then the normal set is $80, and for me personally, that's more than a AAA game, and I do know the amount of money I'm spending is just way too much. I can't justify it. I wish these games were like $10 to $15, and then on top of that, or maybe someone could let me try this out some way, then I would be interesting. I still would like to try out some of these things, especially since this is VR, and I am always curious about VR. I think VR is kind of cool, but I just really can't justify the price. I know it's going to be a one and done type thing. I know with a lot of people who buy this thing too, it's definitely going to be a one and done type thing. It really does seem like this whole VR experience, or Labo in general, is pretty much like a tech demo. What can Nintendo do? Here's what Nintendo can do. It's very cool to test these out and say, oh, I get it now. You can do all these VR experiences, but that's about it. It's not a full-blown thing where you can be playing hours and hours and hours and hours. Each individual piece will only give you maybe 10 to 15 minutes a piece, depending on how long you want to play, but they're just very small experiences, if you get what I'm saying. But overall, still very cool. Some of that stuff I wasn't expecting Nintendo to do. I was thinking those games could be something else, but still a very interesting concept from Nintendo. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.